Today in our video, we'll be talking about the various impacts of different explorers from different time periods. We're talking Christopher Columbus, Vasco da Gama, Neil Armstrong, Marco Polo, Zhang He, and Sir Francis Drake, and so on and so forth. In this video in particular, we'll be talking about three well-known explorers: Marco Polo, Christopher Columbus, and Ferdinand Magellan.
The first explorer we're going to be talking about is Christopher Columbus, who was an Italian explorer and navigator from the Republic of Guyana, who completed 4 Spanish voyages across the Atlantic Ocean under the sponsorship of Ferdinand II and Isabella I. On August 3, 1492, Columbus and his crew set sail from Spain in 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santomir. On October 12, the ships made landfall not in the East Indies as Columbus assumed, but likely on one of the Bohemian islands, San Salvador. Departing Spain in September 1493, Columbus led at least 17 ships back to the Americas. He returned to Hispaniola to explore other Caribbean islands and found the city La Isabela. In 1494, Spain and Portugal signed the Treaty of Tordesillas, dividing the Western Hemisphere between them. Columbus opened up the way for widespread European exploration and colonization of the Americas. Nearly after Columbus's voyages, the Columbian Exchange arose and had a profound impact on the New World.
The next explorer we'll be talking about is Ferdinand Magellan. Ferdinand Magellan was born in circa 1480 and grew up in Portugal. His parents were members of the Portuguese nobility, and at a young age Ferdinand became a page to Queen Leonor. He continued to study on maps, astronomy, and celestial navigation. In his mid-20s, he began sailing fleets and engaged in combat as a Portuguese explorer. He began his travels and he participated in many expeditions to India, Southeast Asia, and Africa. In 1518, he was supported by the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V as he set out to explore more developed routes to the Spice Lands, which the Europeans highly valued. Within his travels, his goal was to circumnavigate the globe and prove its size and shape. In the end, Magellan provided the Europeans with far more than just spices. He expanded their geographic knowledge and gave information in the world that nobody had discovered yet. He also disproved the phenomenon that the globe was flat and that his circumnavigation of the globe was successful.
Our last and final famous explorer is Marco Polo. Many of you know him from a game you play in the pool, which is claimed to be connected to him because he had been said to not know where he was going. But he is more than just a pool game. He is known for many of his important voyages he has taken. Marco Polo was born in 1254 to a wealthy family who were cosmopolitan Venetian merchants. When he was 17, he left Venice with his father and uncle, who were jewel merchants, and their goal was to return to the court of Kublai Khan. He then took an overland journey to China in 1271, where he traveled through the Silk Road and reached Chengdu and then Khanbali. He had served at the court of Kublai Khan for about 17 years. While he was imprisoned, he wrote a story that was called The Travels of Marco Polo. Once he was released, he remained a wealthy merchant in Venice until he died in 1324. He had traveled with the empire on official business for the Khan. Marco then delivered the princess and made his way back to Europe by sea. Shortly after returning, he was captured during a naval conflict between Venice and Genoa.
Next, we have the topic talk. Imagine staying on a ship with nothing but unknown land in front of you. No GPS or Google Maps, just you, the daytime and nighttime. How did Christopher Columbus, Ferdinand Magellan, and Marco Polo find their way everywhere? Let's talk about how some of the most famous explorers explored the new worlds. One of the most crucial tools for navigation was the magnetic compass. This magnetic compass had been introduced to Europe as a result from China. It had become more standardized for travel during the time of Columbus and Magellan. Of the two, Columbus had relied heavily on the magnetic compass to find his way to a westward route across the Atlantic. While Magellan made use of the compass here and there, he made more use of the astrolabe and cross-staff. The astrolabes were used to measure the angle between the horizon and celestial body like the sun, moon, or star. With this, it had determined the ship's longitude and latitude, so basically how far north or south it was from the equator. While it was not the most accurate, it had still given Magellan and others a decent idea as to where they were. Marco Polo had used earlier versions of navigational tools that Magellan and Columbus used, but he depended more on the traditional ways of traveling. For instance, he had relied on celestial navigation, which was basically the use of the sun and stars to guide his way. With maps, they were rare and not the most accurate in Polo's time period, but he did use it here and there. Today, people take modern navigation for granted, but these early explorers had to use simple tools or the skies to guide themselves, whether it was Marco Polo following the sun, Magellan measuring the stars, or Columbus with the compass. They all shaped the way we explore the world now. It only took a little curiosity and courage to get this far. Dear Ferdinand Magellan, I'm a student living just over 500 years after your astounding voyage around the world as you searched for new routes to the Spice Islands. As I studied your life and journey across the world, it makes me wonder, how much courage did it take to travel all that way without knowing when you would return? How are the traveling conditions? You were traveling on water the whole day, so was that in any way hindering your ability to travel? I do wonder. Your journey was so well known, and it was definitely one for the history books. You took on such a big task finding a sea route to the Spice Islands. You began the first circumnavigation of the globe, and while you did not live to see it through all the way, it is still such a big accomplishment for you. Your journey must have taken so much courage, determination, and it must have been filled with many hardships as you must have been traveling through harsh weather conditions, not able to identify each piece of land you saw in the distance. Your death in the Philippines must have taken the biggest toll on everyone, especially on your wife. Through your bravery, we were able to identify the roundness of the Earth. There are still arguments today about whether or not the Earth is round or flat, but your circumnavigation counters others' ideas. You were so much more than an explorer, you were also a man of curiosity and determination. As a student of over 500 years after your voyage, I am truly inspired by you and all you did. Sincerely, Chloe, Maddie, Sienna, and Stephanie.
Thank you for watching our crash course video about famous explorers. We hope you enjoyed and learned lots of information about these well-known people.